As senators speak up for victims of Australia's deadliest medical scandal, contaminated blood. Tens of thousands of Australians were infected with the deadly virus hepatitis C, hundreds of times more deadly than COVID, before the 2000s from blood transfusions and blood products. We still don't exactly know just how many people, some estimates being as much as 80,000 people potentially. We don't know until the government comes clean. Okay, what we do know in this group is that we've known many hundreds of people who've been afflicted by contaminated blood. We're here to get justice for them and their loved ones. Good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's an important live. And g'day. Is it Daryl M8 there? And hello. Well, tonight we're going to discuss, as I mentioned, this business of why is it that despite the efforts of campaigners like myself and other wonderful friends of Infected Blood Australia and victims writing to these senators, okay, not one of them will stand up in the Senate and just ask the simple question of the government, and that is, when will they be holding a Royal Commission inquiry into Australia's deadliest medical scandal with tens of thousands infected and affected? It's a really simple question and it would take just 30 seconds. So, we've written and we can't get any of these senators to speak up. Now, the crazy part about this is that before the 2000s, and you'll have heard me speaking about this in the past. Of course, I'm Charles Mackenzie, president of Infected Blood Australia, and I've been campaigning for victims of this scandal for 30 years. I've been fighting this. G'day, Susan. Good to see you. Okay, and this contaminated blood scandal, it happened right around the world. Okay, it happened in blood supplies right across the world. It happened in Canada, America, Japan, France, Ireland, and the UK. And they all had big investigations. The Canadians, a Commonwealth country, their Canadian Red Cross was removed from the blood supply. They had a Royal Commission called the Creever Inquiry in the 1990s, and it found massive wrongdoing, okay, that led to thousands of Canadians being infected with HIV and hepatitis C as a result of blood transfusion and blood product. In Ireland, similar, massive help was given, much needed aid was given to victims of their blood scandal, okay? And they had a legal commission of inquiry, and those people were assisted. And now in the United Kingdom, they've got their largest ever legal investigation, the Infected Blood Inquiry. That's investigating how tens of thousands of Britons were infected with things like HIV and this deadly virus hepatitis C, okay? And I'm actually a witness. I was a witness to that inquiry, and I submitted a statement about 16 months ago. I complied with an order from this British inquiry, a Rule 9 order, and I was asked to answer some questions, and I did. And we're still waiting for that to be published, and we do hope and we do expect that to be published, because actually this scandal gets even more interesting when you understand that the British government are involved. It was actually the British authorities that trained a lot of our specialists on blood here in Australia in the 20th century, and we took on a lot of their protocols. In fact, just to show you how closely tied we were with the UK, our blood bank was originally the British Red Cross, and our Australian Medical Association was actually just up until I think it was the 60s or the 70s, it was the British Medical Association. So they basically were the architects of our blood supply, and they also told lies about the blood supply. And this Infected Blood Inquiry in the UK has just heard evidence about how British health chiefs and British health authorities lied about the safety of blood in 1974, and they lied about the safety of a blood product called Factor VIII that was used by people with the bleeding disorder haemophilia as a treatment. They knew that treatment was causing harm. They knew that was infecting people with deadly viruses, okay? But instead of doing the right thing, what they did was they played down the known risks, okay, so that they didn't want to damage the reputation of this medicine. Perhaps that was for financial reasons. The Infected Blood Inquiry will tell us about that when it makes its report in 2023. But the point is, that blood product, which was known to be tainted by the British, came down to Australia years later. And Australians with this bleeding disorder, haemophilia, parents with young children, were in some cases coerced. Sound familiar? They were told this is the treatment. They were switched from safer treatments to this new wonder drug, this thing that came from the UK. And guess what? 1,750 haemophiliacs in Australia were infected with HIV and Hep C because of British lies on blood. Okay? And what about the tens of thousands of Australians that were infected with hepatitis C, this deadly virus, from blood transfusion? How many of us knew that this was our deadliest ever medical scandal, right? It is. It actually is. And it is going to come out one way or the other. I think when my statement is published by this British inquiry, people will understand that I've been called a liar for the best part of 30 years, okay? I've actually been told by credible people, and my lawyers have this information, that if, this was, I think, 20 years ago or so, I was told that if I kept on asking questions about how thousands of Australians ended up with hepatitis C from blood transfusions and blood products, that I would be murdered. Okay, because the stakes were so high, because Australia has so much money involved in the blood business. Did you know, for example, that Australia's first $100 billion company was the formerly government-owned, up until 1994, Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, now known as CSL? It's a $140 billion company today, okay? And if this evidence about contaminated blood had gotten to the public sooner, they wouldn't have been a $140 billion company. And that's why we've been locked in this 30-year cover-up, okay? So the question tonight is, despite lots of people writing to these senators, okay, people like Pauline Hanson, people like Jackie Lambie, people like Penny Wong, people like Senator Malcolm Roberts, we can't get them to speak up in the Senate, okay? Well, so far they haven't said a word. Now, that's pretty amazing when you consider that this is Australia's deadliest medical scandal, and every other country sorted this out years ago in terms of offering assistance, home help or financial assistance to people that needed it. But here there's been nothing, okay? So, what has happened just recently is that it was come to my attention from a member of our group called Sue, that a member of staff who works for Senator Malcolm Roberts had gone to Sue and told her that I had offended Senator Malcolm Roberts and this person who was talking with Sue. Now, they had a telephone call, and Sue was told that I would have to make an apology for offending Senator Malcolm Roberts. And the reason for that was because a few weeks ago, we had actually shared posts like this. We have waited over 30 years, okay? Over 30 years, and it says it would take 30 seconds in the Senate to ask, when will the government establish a royal commission into Australia's deadliest medical scandal? Okay? Thousands of Australians affected, right? That was one. And the other, now bear with me, I'll be looking down at my iPad tonight, so I thank you for your patience, because it is quite important that I show you the actual evidence. And also the other thing too is that I have this neurological condition, and so why I really thank you for your patience is because it takes me, probably about twice as long to do basic things these days, but I'm getting there, right? And okay, well, I'm having problems finding this thing, but look, there was let's have a look on Instagram. There was this other post, perhaps you've seen it. It was me, or this post rather. Oh, for goodness sake, wouldn't you know it, just when I need it. I can't find it. Well, anyway, I'm sure he'll understand. It was another post asking Malcolm Roberts, when will he speak up? And then another post, it said, Malcolm Roberts with a speech bubble, I haven't done anything to help victims of Australia's deadliest medical scandal, okay? It was something like that. Well, he hasn't. Now, his member of staff wanted me to apologise, and I'm just going to actually take this time now to walk you through the facts and why I won't be apologising, okay? Now, I would apologise, I always would, okay, if there was need for that. But in this case, actually, the story is actually a little bit interesting, and it's a bit of a mystery, right? So, are you ready? Because someone is maybe confused here, all right? Someone's maybe confused, and I'll let you, the audience, or anyone watching this video later, you determine who's more confused than the other, or is one getting it and the other one's not getting it, because I can't see the need for me to apologise. I've been here since a kid fighting this bloody thing. I've got bone marrow failure. I've been told I'm terminally ill twice in my life. I got infected with contaminated blood as a kid. The guy they took my blood from, they knew he was a junkie, and they kept on taking blood for him. And they knew that he was a risk to the blood supply, and they knew that the guy should never ever donate blood. And then after they found out that he infected me, they then went and took more of his blood to make blood products for haemophiliacs. I've proven all of this, okay? And I've proven that these guys, they basically have engaged in the biggest cover-up ever. And I've had hundreds of people I've known that have come through this group. It's various different names: Tainted Blood Product Action Group, HCV Compensation, Independent Blood Council. We've been around that long, or I have, fighting this, right? And I've known hundreds of people, and some of them were kids that never got to grow to be bloody adults, for goodness sake, okay? And we've proven that they were knowingly infected. Yeah, they were knowingly delivered blood products that authorities knew was going to be, in all likelihood, compromised. And in the case of the haemophilia treatments, they knew 100% of the time that it would be. And that's all coming out now via this inquiry in the UK called the Infected Blood Inquiry that I've just mentioned, that I've been a witness of, right? So, this is what we have. On the 23rd of July, 2021, Senator Malcolm Roberts actually commented on a video, right, that I posted on Instagram. This is back in July. Now, once again, wouldn't you know, as I looked down my iPad, let's just just what I need to grab the evidence. It's now going to play silly games. But okay, well, so on the 21st of July, I shared a video which was about indemnities. Okay, and Malcolm Roberts actually commented on that video. Yeah, he did. And if it wasn't for the fact that I'm actually a bit ill tonight, and I think what we'll do, we might see if we'll do this again, because it's quite an important issue. So if I make mistakes or miss anything tonight, we'll come back at it. It's only because, yeah, I'm a little bit affected tonight by my illness, and I haven't actually ever been on video this bad, but we have to persevere, because basically there's people saying that I need to apologise, and well, I take that very seriously, because this member of staff of Malcolm Roberts, he rang up Sue, now, who I have great respect for. What if Sue had actually believed them and believed that I'd done the wrong thing, and that basically this Senator Malcolm Roberts wasn't speaking up for victims and for her, and she needs, and all of us need help and answers. So in some cases, they've lost multi-million dollars as a result of this, and are now bedbound. So it's bloody serious. And this guy says, well, I should apologise. Well, I've got a heart condition. And what if I was thin-skinned? What if that damage to my reputation caused me to have a heart attack? Huh? Do you have any idea? You guys are getting paid by us. And just recently I've been saying how in this last couple of years with lockdown, how sort of one thing that a lot of us have noticed is that maybe a lot of people on our money have forgotten the fact of who works for who and who serves who. Some of them have even given us the impression that we serve them, for goodness sake. And they deny us employ while they're the ones busy earning money to make decisions that lock us down and make decisions that, health decisions for us, right? So, so basically on the 27th of July, Senator Malcolm Roberts commented on our Instagram, all right, and one of our members, Sue, also wrote to him and said, hey, when are you going to do something or speak up about this terrible scandal, okay? And then what happened was that we thought, well, if Senator Malcolm Roberts is actually speaking up, now I'm just going to have a sip of my... Sue's just told me that Sue's being my wingman tonight. Sue knows I nearly had to cancel this evening. By the way, that's not alcohol, just saying. Non-alcoholic beer. No, I'm entirely sober. It's my neurological condition. Basically, it screws my whole eyesight and the whole deal. So yeah, I'm sailing blind. But okay. Well, I don't know where it is. But anyway, so what happened was we all thought after Senator Malcolm Roberts commented that we thought, yay, hooray, finally, he's on the Infected Blood Australia page, which is, a pretty rough issue. It's not something he'd get onto, I don't think, just lightly. And we thought, great. So a lot of members of our group had written to Senator Malcolm Roberts, and even more people started writing to him, asking him when will he speak up in the Senate and ask the government when will they hold a Royal Commission. Okay, well, on August 16, I then shared a post because now I'm thinking, okay, Malcolm, come on, because the reason why I was getting urgent is we've got people in our group who are quite literally dying. Okay, and I've had a lot of people actually die in my group. Hundreds of people over the decades, for God's sake. I'm getting tired of it. All right, so when are you going to speak up is why we're urgent, because otherwise we're grieving people because they're bloody dead. All right, so it's like not a game. These guys are on our money. They're here to serve us. What else are they doing? What else could be more important than this, huh? And what would you do in my shoes? I have to have these conversations with people, okay? And they're desperate. So we want our senators to speak up. Okay. So I've then basically put out a post that Malcolm Roberts has not liked, where I've got, I'm asking him with his face on it, when are you going to bloody speak up in the Senate? And then a couple of weeks after that, there's another one with him with a bloody speech bubble. Like, I did nothing to help contaminated blood victims. And he bloody hasn't. Okay? Because when you don't speak up, and when you're a senator, and you're not speaking up about this, you're letting us down. Because you've got to know how sick people are. And you've got to know that people have lost children. You've got to know. Have you ever lost a child? Huh? It's very serious. Okay? It's not something you play tiddlywinks with. We're desperate. So, the next thing that happened was that on the 17th of September, I shared a post calling on the internet social media influencer, because a number of members of our group had watched his videos, a chap called Joel Jamal. And I asked him, would he help us? And then a friend of his called Isaac David had myself on a live with Joel Jamal and a haemophiliac who had been also a victim of tainted blood. And after that live, we hoped that, yes, we'd be hearing from more politicians and Senator Malcolm Roberts. However, we were frustrated. We still did not hear from Senator Malcolm Roberts. So, on October 3rd, I emailed Senator Roberts and I wrote this. Dear Senator Roberts, I write to you on behalf of victims of Australia's deadliest medical scandal, contaminated blood transfusions, which were distributed before the 2000s. Tens of thousands of Australians were infected with the hepatitis C virus as a result of contaminated blood. Hepatitis C is many more times more lethal than COVID, and yet there has been no legal investigation and no answers for thousands of affected families. There is also the terrible atrocity associated with the treatment of Australians with the bleeding disorder haemophilia. Before the 2000s, 1,750 haemophiliacs in Australia were infected with HIV and hepatitis C from contaminated blood products. 1,400 have died, and their families received no assistance, whereas victims of the exact same failures received support all around the world with the exception of Australia. CSL, Australia's first $100 billion company, are the makers of the tainted blood products, and they were legally indemnified even though they broke the law and mixed in imported high-risk blood into Australia's blood plasma supply. This legal indemnity has left survivors with no recourse, and therefore they are all too often ruined by it. I note that CSL are the manufacturers of the AstraZeneca experimental COVID injection in Australia, which once again the government has already legally indemnified CSL for. I'm incredibly concerned about the mistreatment of Australians. A pattern has clearly emerged, and we seek your support in breaking this cycle to ensure victims of public health failures like contaminated blood have access to some sort of protection and have options of legal recourse when things go wrong. I greatly appreciate a time to meet with you, Senator. We have dying members in our group right now who are desperate for your help and acknowledgement. Okay, so that was written to him, and did I hear back? No, I didn't hear back. Now, Senator Malcolm Roberts, I have to say, I don't care much for politics. I can't keep up with it. I really can't. I've had senators speak up for tainted blood before, in the years before. Unfortunately, they're long gone now. But I think he's given some rousing speeches about, Australia and what we should be expecting, and how our government has not been doing the right thing over this last 2 years, and I've been quite impressed. So that's why myself and other victims reached out, because we thought that he might do the right thing and speak up for us, and perhaps he still will, okay? But the point is, a member of staff of his is now asking that I apologise, and my answer is most definitely not. No. Absolutely not. Have you lost perspective to this member of staff? I'm not going to mention your name. And you know why? Because I'm not here to upset you or do anything that might harm you in any way or your career. No. My mission for the last 30 years is to get a bloody legal investigation and to get help for survivors, okay? And to get answers for people who lost kids. It's pretty simple. You only have to look on Google. Look me up, Charles McKenzie, okay? Now, I'm ill at the moment. Okay. So who knows how long I'm able to do this. I'm making a hash of this evening's live. And remember, I'm sacrificing my rights to privacy to do this stuff. And I get told that I'll be bloody murdered, okay? And I get the most disgraceful messages that you've ever seen in your life doing this. Okay, and I get threatened. I'd say, probably once every 24 hours by some wacko because of this. So, the internet can be a bit like a public toilet, okay? And, I don't particularly like going to public toilets when they're full of graffiti and, not well maintained. How about you? Well, this has definitely not been a pleasurable experience. I can assure you of that, trying to get to do this. And now, a well-heeled senator and his staff member. Here it is. This is the post that he's offended by. Okay. I didn't do a thing. There you go. There it is. Well, there it is. And he's offended. And we're bloody grieving. We are bloody grieving. You know what? I'm grieving. I'm pissed off, mate. This would have felt like some sort of victory if I'm looking around, actually, for my picture that I have with me everywhere I go. There you go. There you go. There's Joe Franklin, mate of ours, mate to this group, died in 2017, had final conversations with him, tainted blood victim. We shared posts about him recently and some nut job wrote horrible messages as we were grieving our friend. That's my life. This is the life that I lead. And yet you're offended. You're offended because apparently you've never heard of Infected Blood Australia. Well, how interesting is that? Let's have a look. Let's have a look-see. Never heard. I think that's a bit rich. I do. I think for Senator Malcolm Roberts and his staff to say that he has never heard or knows nothing or they're completely naive about Infected Blood Australia is just a bit rich. Now, I'm looking down at my iPad, desperately trying to get my bloody eyeballs and my hands to work. And I tell you, after 30 years of doing this, I'm afraid my physical problems are going to be the absolute barrier to me going forward, I think. So I'm fed up with the fucking situation, if the truth be known. Bloody evil it is. You damned cowards. You damned cowards. Look at this. Moral cowardice is what it is. That's what it is. Here I am, fumbling the fuck around, trying to work out why these fucking pricks would be offended. Why would they be offended? We're dying here, you lunatics. This reminds me of like the conditions by which the French Revolution occurred. Marie Antoinette, didn't she famously say to the starving people, peasants at the gates, let them eat cake? Let them have an apology. Let them have an apology from Charles Mackenzie before we'll even think of speaking up. So this Roberts, he actually, on July, he bloody starts the fuse by commenting on our Instagram page. But then when we're writing to him and then when we're replying to him on that Instagram post, which I'll do a video on it later to show you the evidence. Okay. No, he can't see. He's never heard of us. And then he goes on to a interview with Isaac David. Okay. Let's see if I've got it here. And this interview, when did this occur? I think this was just recently, wasn't it? This was in November. And here we are. Let's hear him here.
And we've got a group called Infected Blood Australia that doesn't get a voice in this country. And they've come out, they've sought me out, they've sought Joel out as well. And they've been begging us for a voice in this country. So back about 20, 30 years ago, they were advertising for blood transfusions from the seedier sides of town, all right, from the inner city people, drug addicts, people that were sexually promiscuous, and they were using this blood, which they knew was tainted, in children, and also people like hemophiliacs and people that needed blood transfusion. We have the case of little Evie. I don't know if you remember little Evie, that was the little child that was got a blood transfusion called AIDS way back. She had to move to New Zealand because of their, if you remember that still cuts me up to this day because I was her age. And there's a group called Tainted Blood Australia. Now, they don't have a voice in this country. And every time they've gone to have a voice, they get shut down immediately, just the same way that our doctors are being gagged. Okay? Now, I don't know if you know anything about that because it is a very obscure case. But is there any way that we can start getting...
I don't know, Isaac, but if you put me in touch through my office,
yes,
you can put them in touch with us. We can ask
100%.
and hold the government accountable.
Okay, 100%. Thank you so much for that. That would really go a long way to helping these people that have suffered for 30 or 40 years. And they really are struggling and suffering. And this is the same suffering that we are trying to avert now, okay, with the people going through this program. Well, it's not really a program.
Okay, well, there you go. So there he is just recently, and he's got no knowledge. Well, I mean, that's a bit rich because he actually, without any calling from us, he actually, when I posted a video about indemnities in July, he actually commented. Now, the great frustration, I don't know, Susan, if you've got a screenshot or any of the volunteers in our group, while I'm doing this, if you could send it to me, because as I say, I'm having an attack of my neurological problems as I do this thing live, and I've never had that problem before. I knew it was coming because my health's changing. So I've actually had some hate mail with people saying, because we've got no one else to replace me as yet who will do these videos, no one's well enough. Okay, that's the point. Most of our group are bedbound now. And so I get people saying, oh, don't talk about your symptoms. Don't talk about your symptoms. It makes you look crazy. Yeah, what weak people. You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you something right now. Before I die, I actually am going to I'll tell you what, we'll arrange a special time, shall we? We'll arrange a date and you get me a venue and I'm going to really basically tell everybody what the hell's been going on. All right. Now, I've always told the truth, but I don't tell you the nitty gritty of the crap that I get. Well, I get a lot of it. Let me tell you, I've had decades worth. Decades. How many times have you had your life threatened? And apparently it's because there is so much money involved, because Australia's first $100 billion company, okay, CSL has so much to lose. Yes, they do. They have so much to lose. And that's why they've been covering up the fact. And that also, look who else has got to lose. The humanitarian organisation, the Australian Red Cross Lifeblood. They're guilty of Australia's deadliest medical scandal. They've killed thousands of people. Let that sink in. Now, to tell you how serious this is, right? The Australian Red Cross knowingly collected blood from donors who they knew had hepatitis C. Yes, they did. And in fact, they used to send them letters telling them in 1990 that you've been found to have this deadly virus, hepatitis C, but that you should come in and still donate blood, which will be used for a process called plasma fractionation. That's the process, okay, that makes treatments for people with haemophilia. And then get this, listen to this, think about this for a moment. How would you feel if you were talking to the victims of that terrible policy? I mean, that was like saying, let's take a bomb on board the plane. Oh, it won't go off, it'll be just fine, but let's just fly around with one on there. Bit of turbulence, bang. Bloody idiots. You know, they actually, CSL, this $100 billion company, do you know what they did? They got the Red Cross to knowingly collect Hep C blood plasma because they didn't want to give it away because of the money and all the other crazy research they were doing. I think they were doing some antibody research with it and all sorts of crazy things. God, is this public health? What have we got here in Australia? Huh? So do you know what they did? They actually infected haemophiliacs with that blood. We've got children that were infected, haemophiliacs who were infected with hepatitis C in the 1990s. They'd never had blood products before. Their parents wanted to do something. They wanted justice, but realised the forces against them. Okay? Well, guess what? We're all together here at Infected Blood Australia, and you can support this Royal Commission by going to our bio. Please do that. Please ask everyone you know, because this last 2 years, we've had a government that basically has been telling us it knows best about our health. Okay, maybe you agree. But what if I told you that they've knowingly harmed thousands of Australians and even knowingly delivered, like in the 1990s, contaminated blood treatments to children that didn't even need these things to survive? Their parents were coerced into putting these things, told by doctors that this was the way to go, just like we are today. And guess what? No one gets any help because these companies are indemnified, just like we have with this situation now with these COVID, whatever they are. So I don't even know what you're allowed to say anymore, for goodness sake. I'm shadow banned on Instagram, even though I don't talk about issues that would ever be construed. Oh, here we are. Thank yous to the volunteers. Thank you, Sue. Right, okay. So what have we got? And let me once again apologise and thank you for your patience, for bearing with me. Right, okay, here we have it. Here it is, July 23rd, Malcolm Roberts. There he is, commenting. So, what now? But when he goes on Isaac David, here he is on July, commenting on Infected Blood Australia. But then, in November, when he's talking to his friend Joel Jamal and Isaac David, he's never heard of us. Now, let me just say something. If anyone from, I imagine his staff will watch this, I expect that his office is inundated, and he's inundated with emails, and I fully expect that it's very reasonable that he wouldn't remember, perhaps. But to ask for an apology from a group like ours after the shit we've been through, okay, and also you've got to remember something. You're offended by me? You're offended by us asking you to get off your backside. Now, look, I think you're a very reasonable man, and I don't want to be rude, so I'm sorry, I don't want to put it rudely, but please understand the stakes we're playing for. This is a war for us. This is Australia's deadliest medical scandal we're fighting, right? No senators have replied to numerous emails. Why wouldn't these senators, why wouldn't they want to speak up? What's going on? Pauline Hanson, hey? For years, our group's written to her, and her chief of staff actually, told one of our members a while back that they weren't interested. Okay, but we have to persevere. Why? We've got no other choice. This is what we've got. You've got Jackie Lambie. Jackie Lambie. Do you think she replied? No. Australia's deadliest medical scandal. People in Canada are being helped, people in America, and now the UK. Now, they're able to get all sorts of assistance. Well, our victims die without anything, and not one of these people will bloody speak up. What's happened to us? What have they done to our country? What have they done? Well, perhaps I can explain. The Senate, this is not the first time the Senate have had a terrible failure with relation to contaminated blood. Oh no, it gets very dark, and this is how it goes. After many, many years, and in the 1990s, let me tell you, some activists were trying to get a Senate inquiry. And the Democrats, remember them? That political party, the Democrats, that no longer exist. Natasha Stott-Despoja, just before her, I think it was Senator John Coulter and others, they wanted to get a Royal Commission, a Senate inquiry into CSL, okay? And they tried and failed to get the votes required in the Senate, okay, to get this inquiry. And you can go and have a look on the Hansard, and we've shared it on Infected Blood Australia, where they actually say that they were told by other politicians, Labor politicians, that the reason it didn't go ahead was because they felt it would affect CSL share price. Interesting. This was in like 1995, 96, somewhere around there. Now, just recently, we've heard from Professor Nikolai Petrovsky's been interviewed, and it's been shared all over social media. Him talking about how he has had problems with CSL, okay? And he was saying that you only have to look at how CSL began. 1994, they were an arm of government that got privatised, and all these rich people in Melbourne and in Sydney, and all the politicians and the bigwigs in Australia were heavily invested in the privatisation of this company, and also in keeping some facts under the floorboards. The privatisation could never have gone ahead if people had known the worst truth. This is where CSL got their blood from in the 1980s. CSL used to get their blood from the Australian Red Cross Lifeblood, or then known as Australian Red Cross Blood Service, and they used to advertise for blood donors during the HIV scandal. I've mentioned this many times, and I have to, because so many people have been infected. We have to tell the truth. And during the HIV scandal, they would advertise in sexually explicit men's papers, like this one, okay? And these men's papers would tell you, where you can, have fun and all that kind of stuff, sexual fun. But it would also tell you that your blood is needed and that they would like you to donate blood. Now, people were already coming down with HIV around the world. HIV had already been reported, in fact, in this very newspaper under its original name. I think it was Grids, was it? Let's get that right. But yeah, the actual original name of HIV, and it was reported in this paper. And in fact, it was worldwide in 1981. The worldwide press started talking about this terrible virus, okay? And yet, right after that, what do you know? The Australian Red Cross are advertising in these sexually explicit publications. Now, isn't this intriguing? And then, okay, when HIV hits the blood supply, they basically come out and say, promiscuous gay blood donors should not donate blood. And then that caused the public to say promiscuous. Why would promiscuous people be wanting to donate blood? And it caused all this confusion and a rise, okay, in a lot of ugly things. Why didn't the Red Cross tell the truth? Why didn't they say that they'd been specifically recruiting gay blood donors? Why did they throw the gay community under the bus and contribute to one of the worst periods in modern history in terms of the hatred? Okay, why? Because they were covering up Australia's deadliest medical scandal, the death of 1,400 haemophiliacs, many of them children as why. And a Senate inquiry that I forced and spent years trying to achieve, okay, that the Democrats couldn't even get. And I read that at the time years ago and thought, wow, if they can't do it, how am I going to do it? Well, guess what? I did do it. And I forced that thing, and I really did think that Australian victims would now join the rest of the world and be able to get helped. Okay? Well, guess what? You've seen the evidence, right? Obviously, it was no accident. Big mistakes were made. Criminal negligence, if you will. Well, the Senate decided that no, there was no reason to give the same level of assistance that had been given to victims overseas. The Senate said best science advice was used. Best science advice. So the senators today who don't speak up, even though they're paid princely sums, there she is, the Princess Keneally and James Patterson, is it? Penny Wong, the international jet setter, and Jackie Lambie, the patriot, and Pauline. They join a long list of do-nothing people. Now, I don't want to upset them. And my mission is for them to simply speak up and ask when we'll have that Royal Commission. And they might not genuinely know. Okay, I think by now Mark Roberts does know. I hope he's going to speak up. I really do. Okay, no hard feelings. I won't be apologising, Senator. But you don't have to apologise to me either. I'm not into that cancel culture stuff. I'm into a Royal Commission. Okay, the same thing I've been into for 30 years. I'm a broken record player. Please. And so the Senate have basically really let the side down here. And that Senate inquiry, you couldn't call it an inquiry. It took place in 2004. There were no lawyers. There are a couple of corrupt politicians on there, I know, because my late friend, the original chair of that inquiry, Senator Steve Hutchins, told me that the inquiry had been captured. Okay? Yeah. So I knew it was over before the inquiry had finished. Why? Because the CSL lobbyists had been in. They'd been in to make sure that this evidence, the truth about what lay behind Australia's, where they got their blood from, they stepped in to make sure that the truth never came out. And then what they did, I actually didn't predict this. My jaw was on the floor at the inquiry. If any senators are watching this, wow, you wait. Just go check out the inquiry, Hepatitis C and Australian Blood Supply 2004, right? And yeah, just go have a look, and you'll see the most corrupt inquiry you've ever seen in your life. Okay, I think actually the chair of that inquiry might be in some criminal trouble, because how that supposed inquiry, when it was no inquiry, how they could come to the decision to not help haemophiliacs, people who've been knowingly infected, and that actually those people died. There was others that lost their homes immediately after that because they got so sick. Now they were helped all around the world. And well, in some cases, very significantly, and rightly so. But there was one country that offered no help at all, and people died without that help. And that was the home of the world's biggest blood products company and one of the world's biggest jab makers. What a sordid tale, huh? Now, look, my health's failing, as I've said, and some of you have told me, written in and told me not to speak of it, but I'm going to, because my group wants me. We're going to have to get other people in. And by the way, get lost. And you can your hate mail just will end up going to the cops anyway. So whatever. But yeah, so I just need a senator, basically, to speak up about Australia's deadliest medical scandal, because I'm getting ill. I've been fighting for 30 years, so I won't be apologising to any senator. No, I hope not to be offending them either. That's not my role. That's not my mission. My mission is to get them to ask in the Senate when the government will be holding a Royal Commission inquiry. Now, here's something really important for you. Sue, I think, is a very reasonable person and a very good person, and actually someone of integrity, because had she not been that way, she might have actually had the wrong opinion of me, hearing one of Senator Malcolm Roberts' staff say that the President of Infected Blood Australia has offended senators. And then I could have other victims out there thinking I'm the reason, right? So thank you, Sue, for doing the right thing. And here is actually Sue with an email. Okay, we're now going to present to you what this is all about and the inertia of our politicians. Here is Sue speaking to Greg Hunt in an email.
This is an email that I sent to Greg Hunt on the 20th of March this year. Greg, my emails to you personally have gone unanswered. What are you afraid of? It's time for you to stand up, show some fortitude, and explain why you haven't had the courage to contact me. Surely, as the Minister of Health, it's your duty and obligation to help sick and dying Australians. The truth will out, and you will be shown to have done nothing for the victims of Australia's greatest medical scandal. The UK Labor Party's Diana Johnson and Andy Burnham are seen as heroes for their stance on infected blood, and yet you refuse to talk to Australian victims or help them in any way. Why? Where is your conscience? People die whilst you sit by and watch. Where is your humanity? Have you no sense of morality? Are you bound by party politics? This is not a political issue, it's a humanitarian one. We are literally sick and tired, desperate and dying, and yet you refuse to help us. Shame on you and everyone who stands by and does nothing. Why did you enter politics? To help ordinary Australians or feather your own nest? Recent events in the UK will have a dramatic effect on the Australian scandal. Anyone with an ounce of self-preservation would be taking note of these developments and be getting out in front of this scandal. What will your legacy say? I knew, but I did nothing. If you possess a shred of moral fibre, you will do the decent thing and phone me. Victims deserve justice before they die. Suzanne.
There you go. So well said. So well said. That's the stakes we're playing for. And that's Greg Hunt. And he has done nothing. For thousands of Australians who are infected and affected by this, he's continued the cover-up. Now, we heard a rumour recently that he was planning retirement. And, I predicted that. Because when this thing hits, he's in so much trouble. Do you know, it's not just unlawful not helping victims. They've got to respond. It's the law. They've not just done that. Do you know what? Because they've covered up, they've actually increased the harm on victims. We've had people tell us we're liars for decades. Okay, we've got people, in the early days, we had people just think that we were, drug addicts, and we'd be denied certain medical treatments. I myself was denied the storage of my own stem cells, which was crucial in the treatment of my bone marrow disease. And after that denial, I was told I was terminal. Okay, so this is big stakes. These are big stakes. We've had a lot of people die. Okay, a lot of people die. We've had kids infected. We've had parents lose kids. Thousands of Australians. Why do we have health ministers? Huh? Why? I actually don't know why. I don't know why anymore. And I thank you for joining me tonight. And I really am sorry for losing it at times there. I haven't ever had that happen before. And now it's got to go out into the public sphere, and perhaps more people will just add to the queue of people saying that I'm crazy. Every day I get people telling me I'm crazy. Do you know that? Every single bloody day. Every single day of my life I get messages telling me I'm crazy. But the reason why I do these videos and talk is so that we get the forms to support our Royal Commission. There you go, that's my modus operandi. I basically catch the arrows from myself, because I've had really good friends die because of this. And so, I actually don't mind getting into a scrap, not a violent scrap, but verbal scrap, you got it. Because I've had some really, as I say, good friends who I miss a lot. And actually, you know what? They're in my thoughts pretty much every moment of every day. That's what you find out. You don't want to lose lots of people that you've become connected to. It's not a good thing. And I think that's probably why some people have PTSD. We've got PTSD right throughout our group. It also can come with the turf of having something like Hep C. That can affect you neurologically, and it can go hand in hand that you can have PTSD. I've had that, and then it's become this other thing where my hands don't work and my bladder doesn't work and all this other baloney, and eventual bloody Alzheimer's and dementia and all the other wonderful things I've got to look forward to. But before any of that bloody happens, I'll tell you this right now. It's like one of those zombie movies or end of the world movies where you realise, what will you do? Well, I'm not going to do anything that will harm anyone, not ever. No, it's against my principles entirely. Okay, no. Won't do that. Not into that. But what I will do is, do what I can to do the right thing by Australia. And the right thing is to keep on asking people to support that Royal Commission of Inquiry. Go to our bio, click on that link and support a Royal Commission of Inquiry into the Australian Red Cross CSL blood scandal. And the other right thing for me to do is to keep on praying that my evidence to the UK Infected Blood Inquiry, will one day be published. That was 16 months ago, for goodness sake. Do they have any idea, these English, the pressure that puts on somebody? 16 months? I wasn't writing a statement for myself. I was answering, what they wanted me to answer. And I've had people tell me I'll be murdered, for this, because there's so much money involved in compensation and stuff like that. And I've had that my whole life. Plus, I've been told I might die from my illness and things, So it's like, geez, fair income, honestly. And then of course, because that bloody Senate inquiry in 2004 did the unthinkable when every other inquiry around the world did the absolute bloody obvious, they basically said no. They said that everything that happened with best science advice, and that people would receive no financial assistance. That led to people having their deaths, people to hasten deaths, for God's sake. Friends of mine, bloody were killed by that decision. And best science advice, no blood bank in the world was advertising in sexually explicit publications during the HIV crisis. What a sham. And this was the Senate that did this. And this has been the topic of tonight's chat. Why won't the bloody Senate speak up about this fiasco? Penny Wong? Doesn't she have ambitions to be foreign minister one day? Crikey! You'd be foreign minister of the only bloody first world country that said that everything that happened in the 1980s and 90s was best science advice, Penny Wong. Please help us. I think I'll be saying that on my deathbed, for God's sake. I went on the ABC, actually. I did. I've melted down here tonight. I said it was the first time. It's not. Oh, no, actually, it's not. The first time was live on ABC Radio about 2 years ago. ABC Radio National. It was a real car wreck. You got to go listen to it. I tell you. Well, you know what? Here's what you could do. Thank you for watching this video. What you could do, can you write to Greg Hunt? Can you write to Mark Butler, the opposition health minister? Can you write to your local MP, your senators? Can you write to anyone politically that you might think might stand up for Australia? Come on, for goodness sake. Why do they always want Australia to come last? And is this what we've got to look forward to in future? Okay, we've just been locked down for 2 years and we're expected to trust them that they're getting it right on public health. Yeah? Well, I mean, how are they getting it right on public health when I've been locked here for 30 years, basically involved in a cover-up involving the murder of children and other patients? And how did so many women get infected with Hep C during childbirth, from blood given during childbirth? Please. And when you're thinking, why have you never heard of this before? Why? It's never been on the ABC. They've never investigated on Four Corners or 7:30. And then their chief medical correspondent, Sophie Scott, when members of the public write to her, she said, it's been widely covered in the media. Yeah, Australia's deadliest medical scandal's been widely covered. That's why when I get my hundreds of thousands of dollars a year working at the ABC, I can feel so confident I'm doing a great job. I mean, it's been widely covered, even though it's never been on Four Corners, even though it's never been on 7:30 Report, even though it's never been on Australian Story. Okay, they've got a guy, Australia's Last Piano Tuner. That was a good episode. Sue enjoyed that. But there's never been a thing about tens of thousands of people being infected as a result of having received contaminated blood transfusions. Weird that. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that the current chair of the ABC, Ida Buttrose, used to be a promoter of blood in the 1980s. Yeah, Ida Buttrose used to do advertisements telling us that the Red Cross blood was safe and reliable and that the haemophilia treatments had been purified. Oh my goodness. And 1,750 haemophiliacs went on to get infected with hepatitis C by those supposed purified products. And Australia's worst treatment scandal unfolded, and it's the one you'll never see on TV. Okay, they've even got the Haemophilia Foundation Australia, right? And because CSL made billions and billions of dollars, what they did was they corrupted that foundation. So like every other haemophilia foundation around the world, or haemophilia society, some of them run by former mates of mine when they were alive, like James Krepner, the Canadian activist who forced the Royal Commission in Canada into their blood scandal. They all did things, you know. But our Haemophilia Foundation Australia, they've never once called for any investigation into 1,400 haemophilia deaths out of a possible, 1,700 haemophiliacs that were here in the 1980s and 90s. Isn't that amazing? Oh, it's because none of their leadership are actual haemophiliacs, and they're being so well paid they're compensated and don't want to speak up. What a corrupt mess. And so we need these senators, if you could do us a favour, if you could keep writing to them and asking them, look, please, would you please just take 30 seconds is all it would take. Please, please, please. All it would take 30 seconds.
Any way that we can start getting
30 seconds.
Know, Isaac, but if you
there we
put me
are.
in touch through,
27th
through
of
my
July.
office,
Yes.
you can put them in touch with us. We can ask
Okay,
questions
100%.
and hold the government accountable.
20,
Okay, 100%.
there it
Thanks
is.
so much.
27th of July, he's come to our Instagram.
Go a long way
And
to
here
helping
he
these
is.
people that are,
And here he is saying he doesn't know.
Years.
Okay, now perhaps that's fair, he doesn't know, or perhaps he's telling porkies. But either way, this is too serious to get wrong. And there won't be an apology from me, Senator Roberts, although you have my respect. It could well be that you simply, you get so many messages, and I get it. But, I hope you also get that we need perspective. And the perspective is we're fighting Australia's deadliest medical scandal and a criminal cover-up. And children have been knowingly given contaminated blood products and they've been killed. And parents have lost those children. And they have asked me to keep pushing and keep asking that we get people to write into Australia's politicians asking for when are they going to speak up in Parliament or in the Senate and demand a legal investigation. You know, if parents have lost children because their kids were knowingly given contaminated blood, we need to do something about that right now. You don't want me here for 30 years or another 30 years. Let's take that 30 seconds, Malcolm Roberts. Come on. Let's do it. Let's stand up for Australia at long last. You know, they put us at the bottom of the world. All these other countries did something about their contaminated blood scandal. Okay? And we had no help for our victims, and they died. It's time to end all of that. Okay, Malcolm? Okay, senators? And okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. Remember, please go to that bio and click on that link supporting that Royal Commission inquiry. But thank you so much for your company tonight. I apologise if I was a little bit over the top with this, but I can tell you, this company, look at this. CSL plasma was mixed. CSL admitted mixing Australian and foreign plasma products until 1990 with foreign blood. There you go. Killing 1,400. And we can't get one senator to speak up in the Senate, okay, when they admitted importing foreign blood and giving it to patients, blood that they knew was contaminated, okay? Yeah, you won't speak up. What hope have we? But I'm feeling more hopeful having had your company here this evening and knowing that hopefully we'll get a few more people to support this Royal Commission. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.